You can have brilliant ideas, years of experience, and a genuinely valuable book, and still look less established because of a few publishing decisions that nobody warned you about.
Pour a cup of clarity, sip a spark of insight. Coffee with Karma, your morning feels just right.
A lot of experts assume that good content automatically creates trust. Mm, no, not so much. Premium buyers notice signals that most authors don't even think about. The frustrating part is that many of these credibility signals have nothing to do with the content, with the writing, with the stuff that you want them to consume, right? These are structural decisions that either reinforce your expertise or subtly weaken the perception of it. Hi, my name is Carma Spence, and I help experts write the right book so that they can grow their business and achieve their goals, writing a book that's actually set up to do those things. They don't get a book that just sits there and collects digital dust. They have a book that works for their business. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like this video, comment below, share it with your colleagues, and subscribe to my channel so that the YouTube algorithm and other people like you who want to grow their business with books can find this and other videos like it. So let's get to today's content, which is 5 design details that make your book look established. Number 1 is that your cover is a positioning decision, not a decoration choice. You need to make sure that your cover represents your business in a way that potential readers understand. That means it needs to look like it belongs in the industry, that it belongs to your level of experience, that it matches your personal branding. I did an entire article that talked about this and the current trends in actually it was in 2025 because I did it at the beginning of this year. I will be updating that at the end of the year because it takes about a year for the trends to really solidify and become advisable. But it's still valid today because honestly, I've done this a couple years in a row and there's very little change. There's very little change. You want bold, bold colors that say, I am an expert. Navy is a very popular one. Black, white, sort of a burnished gold, kind of like my wall, kind of like my wall. And these colors with a contrasting color. So like if you've got a black or navy color, maybe you want a white or a gold lettering. You want fewer fonts. You want a big, bold title and a subtitle that explains what the promise of the book is. These are all have been standard for a very long time and they are still trending. So follow the rules of your industry. And I've given this advice before, but basically look at 5 top books in your market. What are the through lines of those 5 covers? You want to understand what those elements are because you want to be signaling the same thing. Not that it's the same content, but that you are, I belong in this industry and I know my stuff. I belong in this industry and I know my stuff. That's what you're trying to signal. Number 2, design inconsistency creates subconscious doubt about the quality of the expertise itself. That means, does your cover look like it belongs to your business? Does your book cover look like it belongs? So when I did my Author's Journey series, which is for this business I currently have, I made sure that the colors matched. I made sure that the fonts match. When you see those books, they look like they belong to my business. These two, they looked like they belonged to the business I had when I created them. Back then, I had green and purple as my main colors, so this fit. And then for this book, I completely created a new brand, Public Speaking Superpowers brand, and it used those colors. If I were to redo these books today, they would look completely different because my business is completely different in branding. I've updated my branding since then. So make sure that your book fits your brand. Number 3, minimalist design works only when it looks intentional, not unfinished. So if your book is just words and that's it, and it's really, really minimal, it might be too minimal. It doesn't look intentional. Um, I wrote about this in my blog post today, which is Monday, when I'm recording this. I had a friend, delightful woman, amazing at what she does. And she wrote a book, and one of the concepts in the book was a billboard. So she wanted her cover to look like a billboard. However, the way it was implemented, it was just words on a white cover. And remember when the generics came out? They were all either yellow with black writing or white with black writing. And it was like there was the generic aisle where you got all your generic paper towels and such. That's what her book looked like. It looked like it belonged in the generic shelf. And that's not what she was intending to do. Now, I've already started reading the book. It's excellent. I would recommend it. I'm not going to recommend it while saying this because I don't want to throw her on the bus. But that's what happened. So if you're going to go minimal, do so intentionally. A really good example of minimalist design is Atomic Habits. I will put a picture right here. Very minimalist design. Really, the only design element is the bit of gold that is sprinkled in. And that's very minimalist, and it works. It works because part of his message is that when you have atomic habits, they are simple, they are consistent, so the design matches the message. I guess what I'm saying here is be intentional when you are creating your design. This one is not minimalist, public speaking superpowers, but I was intentionally pumping up the superhero element. I used the standard splash background. So see, I've got this background. I used an emblem. My mother actually painted this art. I have it somewhere in storage. I used a superhero font. All these things were intentional because the whole book uses the superhero metaphor to talk about public speaking. And so I used the fonts, I used the colors, I used the shapes, I used all these things that evoked comic book superheroes. It was intentional and it works. Number 4, premium clients notice production standards even when they can't explain why. So you want to make sure that you make the right choices in production. Now, most print on demand, you don't have to worry about this too much. They give you good quality paper. The thing I've found is there is a standard in the publishing industry. White paper is nonfiction, cream paper is fiction. So if you have a nonfiction book, which if you're following me, that's what you're intending to write, you want to use the bright white paper. I know someone who used cream, and honestly, I think subconsciously it hurts his book. He liked the way it looked better, but it signals this is fiction. Don't pay attention to it. And the thing is, all these little details, they hit subconsciously. The person looking at it doesn't think, oh, this is cream colored paper. I think it's fiction. No, they don't do that. But they're so conditioned that cream paper is fiction that there's a doubt that goes in the back of their mind. So you want to make sure that you are making the right choices for the level of your expertise. And that means design elements. Like if you use images in your book, they need to be crisp and clear and simple because when you publish them, the ink makes a difference. I learned that lesson with this second edition there. I really wanted to have the chapter facing pages be all black with white writing. That because the ink was softening the paper, they wanted to upgrade me to a higher quality paper, thus making the cost of the book greater than the price I was selling it for. And because of the type of book it was, I couldn't raise the price of the book because no one would buy it. There are standards in what people will think, this book is this kind of book, it costs this price range. And it was basically making it a desktop book. And it's like, people aren't going to pay fancy art book prices for a simple book about their homepage. So you need to make design choices that not only up level you, but also make sense for the production of the book. These are all little things that you can learn the hard way, or you can watch Coffee with Karma and learn them from my mistakes. Oh my. All right, number 5, mature businesses eventually realize that their book is a part of their brand architecture, not separate from it. Your book needs to integrate into your business. These did when I created them. They no longer do because my business has moved in a different direction, but the Author's Journey series absolutely fits in with my business. You want to make sure that your books are an integral part of your business. They're not just little offshoots over here. Unless if you're doing a completely new brand for the book, fine. But if you want the book to grow your business, it needs to fit into your business. That means it needs to lead people logically to want to hire you. It needs to look like it's a part of your business. It needs to feed your business both with leads and with content. Your book can codify your methodology, your thinking, so that it is easier to create social media, just plopping in content from your book and creating it from there. So there you go, 5 design details that make your book look established. In my next video, I will be talking about 3 book design fixes that experts need now. Basically, 3 things that you can do starting this week to make sure that your book cover sells your expertise. Until then, this is Carma Spence saying ciao for now.
Bloopers!
And, I am totally distracted by my hair. I wanted a bob, just wanted my bob to be shorter. The hairdresser said, "Oh, you want the usual?" I'm like, "Yes, the usual," which is a bob. And I got this, which means I'm gonna have to grow out my hair. I got bangs. I hate bangs. They're fine on other people. If you've got bangs, no problem. I don't like them on my face. I don't like them. Anyway, enough with the fashion commentary. That was from Friday's episode where it was The Devil Wears Prada. Actually, that's this Friday's. This Friday's. Oh my gosh. It's like because I work on the content a week in advance, I plan it all out. So, yeah, Fridays, just so you know, Friday's episode is going to be all through the lens of the film The Devil Wears Prada. There you go. All right, let's start with today's episode. How about that? Come on, Karma, get a move on. Atomic Habits, which I believe I have somewhere here. Probably should have gotten that out first. It's not. I don't have Atomic Habits up here, but let's see. I think this book does it. No. Sorry, I thought I had an example. I probably should have gotten that before I started recording.